In today's video, we're going to go through the critical room, which is another exercise that is a part of the digital forensics and incident response module of the SOC Level 1 pathway of TryHackMe. And again, this is just another one of those exercises that is going to be based on the Linux terminal command line in its entirety. There is no graphic user interface that we're going to be using, so it's all command line today, and it should be fun. It should be an exciting one, so let's get into it. Alright, so here is the intro. Our user Hattori has reported strange behavior on his computer and realized that some of the PDF files have been encrypted, including a critical document on the company, or a critical document to the company named important document. He decided to report it since it was suspected that some credentials might have been stolen. The DFIR, Digital Forensics Incident Response Team, has been involved and has captured some evidence. Join the team to investigate and learn how to get information from a memory dump in a practical scenario. So the learning objectives: memory forensics basic concepts, how to access and set up the environment, gathering information from compromised targets, search for suspicious activity using the information obtained, extracting and analyzing data from memory, conclusion, and further steps along, after completing the room. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to learn how to extract essential information and artifacts when performing a memory forensic task in a compromised machine using the Windows OS. First, we'll learn basic memory forensics before setting up our own environment. Next, we'll learn how to get basic information about the compromised target and how to search suspicious activity. Finally, we will extract interesting data that may help us. So this is actually interesting because this is obviously not a Windows machine, and this was the one that I launched right here in this particular setup. So it's going to be interesting to see what exactly we're going to be doing and how we're going to go into Windows OS. Maybe we're going to use our Linux machine to remote desktop into a Windows machine. Maybe that's what's going to happen. I'm not exactly sure, but it was a little bit confusing when they mentioned Windows OS. So I'm curious as to how that's going to play out. These are some of our prerequisites. So we have the analyzing volatile memory, which I have not done. There is the volatility exercise, which I did do. And then we have the incident response difficulties and challenges, which I have not done. So I feel like I should also just add those to my repertoire here. These are standalone rooms. So these are not specific to any pathway, so it's not part of the SOC Level 1, SOC Level 2, PenTest, anything like that. As you can see over here, it just says that it's a part of Learn and then IR difficulties and challenges. So these are standalone rooms, but they have been deemed as our prerequisites for this entire exercise that we're doing. So hopefully we'll be able to get the results that we need anyways, and kind of maybe skip around some of the stuff that I have not completed. So we'll see how it goes. You and me are going to be learning together today, and it should be exciting. It should be a fun environment. So here's the first piece right here about memory forensics. All right, so this is our recap of memory forensics. It should be useful while we're working on the scenario. So in cybersecurity, memory forensics is a subset of computer forensics that analyzes volatile memory, usually on a compromised machine. In Windows, it corresponds to the RAM, the random access memory, and its contents is flushed with every reboot or shutdown, making it one of the usual initial tasks to perform during an incident. So basically, what this means is that the RAM, the random access memory, anything that is stored in there will immediately wipe the next time that the computer is rebooted, shut down, restarted, so on and so forth. So it is one of the most critical pieces of data gathering that you need to do, and you need to do it before you do anything else, because if you're doing incident response, most likely you're going to whatever the computer is, they're going to close it or they're going to shut it down to move it to storage or whatever that situation may be. And in that transfer, when it goes from the actual crime scene to the evidence storage of the FBI or the police, during that transfer, that computer is going to be shut down. And so while you're on site, before the computer gets shut down, that's what you need to do all of the memory forensics so that you can get the critical pertinent information before that computer is shut down. The process is different from disk forensics, and since it's not only providing information about what resides on the target computer, but also provides us with information about the processes or applications that were running at a particular time, and detailed information on the execution flow on a system that may not be present in regular storage units or application logs. The memory analysis can help us with an immediate snapshot of an application or timestamp of an attacker's actions. This is crucial since evidence collected through memory forensics can become invaluable in creating a chronology of events. We can divide the task in memory forensics into two main phases: memory acquisition and memory analysis. During memory acquisition, we'll copy the live memory to a file, commonly referred to as a dump, to perform the analysis without risking losing the data from an inadvertent reboot on the compromised system and have proof of the analysis. So there you go. That's probably what would be the best thing to do to make sure that we don't lose the memory while it's reboot or if it accidentally gets reboot. So next, during the memory analysis phase, we'll analyze the obtained memory dump of forensics data. So what type of memory is analyzed during a forensic memory task? And that would be the RAM, right? Random access memory. And then in which phase will you create a memory dump of the target system? And that would be the memory acquisition. So there we go. That's what we got so far. Now let's move on to this next piece right here, which is going to be the environment setup, which I kind of already did the first part, but let's see what else we got to do. So obviously we got to do the first piece, which is the memory acquisition. And there are imaging tools that are very useful in this environment. So Windows would be the FTK Imager Forensics Toolkit Imager, and WinPmem, that I haven't heard of before, but I've heard of FTK when I was studying for my CYSA Plus. And then Linux, which is Lime. I have not used this before. And then we have macOS, hey, which is OSXPmem. So these are the tools that we can use to get a memory dump, right? An image of the random access memory. In our scenario, FTK Manager was used to take a memory dump of the compromised machine, which was copied to the Linux machine to perform the analysis. Okay, that makes sense. So accessing the machine is going to be done through these things, and then the memory dump named memdump.mem will be present at the home address here. To analyze the dump, we're going to use Volatility 3, a popular choice among analysts to expect it, and these are the commands that we're going to run. And then it gives us several options, etc., etc., etc. So I'm going to do this in the actual exercise itself to be able to get the answers to these questions that we have right here. So actually it says, so which plugin can help us get information about the OS running on the target machine? Okay, so these probably are going to be parts of the questions that we'll get here. So right, Volatility 3 probably, that might be the plugin. Maybe I should read through this content. Maybe I should just cheat it. We'll see how it works. There's a lot of these things that are done here. Actually, these are the plugins. So these would be the plugins that would be used. Yeah, so plugin, etc. So these would be the plugins that would be used to do various things. And these specific ones, I guess, are the ones that we need to be referencing for the questions that we're going to be answering, right? So it says which one will help us get information about the OS running on the target machine. So it says show OS and kernel details of the memory. So it will probably be Windows info. So let's try that. That is the right answer. Which tool referenced above can help us take a memory dump on a Linux machine? So the tools above can help us get a memory dump of a Linux machine. It's actually right up here. Where was it? Lime. Lime will let us get a memory dump of a Linux machine. And then which command will display the help menu using volatility on the target machine? I don't even need to do any of this stuff, did I? So vol-h will help us get the volatility help menu. Boom, just like that. Okay, so I didn't need to do anything with the actual machine itself. We kind of cheated it through this through the actual content itself. So one thing that I am going to show you though is whether or not this is a free room, and this is indeed a free room, which means you don't need a paid subscription to run this on TryHackMe. So I would recommend that you actually go get this, because you can deploy the virtual machines on it. You can go through all the content here. So I would definitely recommend that you check this out. If you don't have a paid membership, you don't need one. You can just use the free membership of TryHackMe and you will get access to this room. So let's move on to this piece right here, which will require probably that we do some information gathering, etc. Okay, so now we're going to be actually getting information about our target machine, and based on the questions that we got here, I believe we're actually going to be running these commands. So this is something that I'm interested in. It says vol fmemdump windows info, so I wonder if I even need to run this and if I can even answer these questions that are here. So let's try it, right? So is the architecture of the machine 64-bit? And then if we go over here and look at it, let's see if we can find that answer real quick. Okay, so right here it says, is 64-bit false? So that would be a nay, so a no, and that is not indeed the answer. So it actually requires us to run this thing. Use Windows info to check the value is 64-bit. So now I know that all of this information is useless. So now I get to go and actually access the machine that we have over here. So let's now do the split view and get this info. Okay, honestly, I kind of like the fact that this is so zoomed in. I think that was done because I zoomed in on the general screen so much, because this is typically what it looks like over here. So I can just clear this as well to show the full thing, but I kind of like the fact that this is already like super zoomed in. I would imagine that in the recording, this would be much more useful to you, my viewer, my valued, lovely viewer. So let's run this command, and I mean, it literally looks so zoomed in when I'm looking at the recording preview. So, vol fdump memdump. When actually, do I even have this in the current location that I'm at? So there it is. Okay, so vol fmemdump.mem windows.info, enter. And there we go. It's running, and it's going to get us some information here. All right, cool. So that finished, and we got all these things right here. So in this case, is 64-bit is actually true, so we can do yes. I mean, there's only two answers, so if no didn't work, yes would probably work. It says, what is the version of the Windows OS? So let's go find Windows OS version. I'm going to venture a guess and say that it's the NT major version, which is 10. The hint says, check for P major operating system version. So windows.info and volatility, check for PE Windows operating system version. Major operating system version, it also says 10. So that is the answer, is 10. And now it says, what is the base address of the kernel? And I did see this at the top right here. So it does say kernel base, and this is the piece right there. So if I right click it, because we're inside a Linux box, it automatically just copies it. So there you go. You highlight it, right click, and then it automatically copies, and you are good. And now you have your information. So there is that. Let's clear the screen, and let's move on to the next section for searching for suspicious activity. Suspicious activity refers to technical anomalies, such as unexpected processes, unusual network connections, registry modifications. These often signal potential security threats like malware attacks or data breaches. So to start the search, we would do the vol-memdump windows netstat. And to see if there's an interesting or unusual connection. At this stage, remote access connections or access to suspicious sites are something to look for. So we're going to go to our home analyst directory, execute this particular command, and this is kind of what we're looking for in this particular case. Like 3389 is RDP. So in this case, it says it right. So a connection established on 3389, which timestamps this could indicate the initial access. And now we have information about the network. Let's look at the processes and Windows PS tree for process tree. So same thing, vol memdump Windows PS tree, and it would give you these things. And so you have the PID and the PPID, so the parent process ID and the process ID itself. So you see the process ID 636, and then you have the services exe, the DLL host, which are of note, I would say, right? So they can be running as part of normal processes, but if it shows in an environment where you know that something shady happened, it's probably something good to keep in mind. So as we observed, the command provides us with information on the process hierarchy running on the system, indicating that the process and their respective parent, in this case, services exe, is the parent of DLL host. But how can we identify if it's suspicious? One of the most common ways is to check the name of the process Threat actors commonly use names to disguise the execution. One of the ways to do this is to check this process is not usually present, and we can find a list of processes commonly used in Windows represented in the image below. So these are common, right? So common Windows processes would be these things, the idles, etc., 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 etc. So none of these are a part of the common processes, or I'm sorry, none of these two. So services exe, DLL host exe are not on the common list, right? So that is something to note. We can observe a process truncated critical update as shown below. So you have critical update. Do we have anything that's here that's called critical update? Doesn't seem to be the case, but it does. Critical updat is one of them, and then updater exe is one of them. Is this on our list right here? It is not, right? So this process does not look like it's part of the system, and observing it in detail is the parent process of updater exe, which is also not listed as a process part of Windows. We can identify a possible malicious process that should note the information like timestamps, PID, PPID, and memory offset. So, okay, cool. Using the Windows Net Scan, can you identify the IP address that established a connection on port 80? Use the plugin Windows Net Scan. Can you identify the program or the owner used to access through port 80? Analyzing the process present on the dump, what is the PID of the child process of critical update, and what is the timestamp for which the truncated name critical update? Okay, so that's what we got here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to actually go, oh, this thing set it resized back to normal as it seems. Okay, so cool. So the first thing that we are going to do is we're going to run this command, which is the vol fmemdump windows netstat. So I mean, you should already see what the command is, so I'm not going to zoom in on this one for you. And there we go. Let's run that, and that's going to run, and it's going to give us an answer in a bit. All right, cool. So here is everything that we got based on our responses, and you can see that there's a lot of stuff that's going on here. What we're looking for specifically is something on port 80. So we can see let me actually expand this right here, just so I think it'll be easier if we saw it on this piece. So let me clear this again. So we'll do volume F, and it's going to be, what's the name of it? Memdump mem, and then Windows netstat. Memdump mem Windows netstat. There you go. All right, so this one is a little bit easier because these things go to the end of the line. So what we can see now is the columns are actually lining up. So it's the offset, the prototype, the local address, local port, foreign address, foreign port. So local address would be this category, these series of numbers right here. And then you have the local port, which would be these series of numbers right here. And then you have the foreign address, which would be these. And then you have the foreign port, which is the next line. It's kind of weird because it's not really organized very well, because, you know, if this is a short address right here, so let's zoom in here. So this is the full address, right? And then this is a shortened address for our local, and then you have this port, and then that's the port, and then this will be the next one, so on and so forth. And then it takes you to the timestamp at the very end, and you see that the timestamps aren't aligned, which means it's just a little bit harder to pay attention to it. So imagine if you didn't look at it in this view and you looked at it in this view right here, it's just even worse. It's harder to look at. So we have port 80 is the one that's connected at the top right there. And then if you looked at any other information here, there is nothing else on port 80 that I can see. So the only thing that I can see is this thing at the very, very top, which is port 80. So now the question is, can you identify the IP address that established the connection on port 80? So it would be this guy right here. I would say that would be the IP address that established the connection on port 80. So let's try that. That's not it. Okay, so let's see. Maybe it's the first address. So maybe this is the address that's associated with it. So maybe this is the one that we're looking for, because that's also inside of the same conversation. So let's try this one. Huh, it's not it either. Okay, interesting. So Windows NetScan, can you identify the IP that established the connection on port 80? Dear friends, I'm terribly sorry. I will leave all of the previous information just so you can understand that I'm making a huge mistake and there is a reason why I wasn't getting the result that I needed. But it's not netstat, which is the freaking plugin that I was using. It's netscan. Oh my gosh, dude, I'm so upset. So netscan is the freaking module plugin that I was supposed to use. So I'm just gonna do that, and I'm gonna grep for 80, and hopefully I will now get the information that I'm looking for. And look at that, we got multiple instances of port 80. But this is the only thing that actually is established. This one is closed, this one is closed wait, and the other ones are parts of the other data. So this is the only one that actually has been established on port 80. So that's the one that we're going to copy. And then we're going to go here and we're going to paste it. And I bet that is the right answer. So netscan, not netstat. I am sorry if I was leading you down the wrong path, but I make mistakes sometimes. So, okay, so using the plugin netscan, can you identify the program owner used to access port 80? So if I go back over here, this is the program owner, which is msedge.exe, so Microsoft Edge. So we could just type that out real quick. And then analyzing the process present on the dump, what is the PID of the child process of critical update? So what I'm looking for in this case is Windows PS tree. So let me make sure I do that right. Okay, there it is. And then what I'm going to grep for in this case is going to be the child process of critical updat. So critical underscore updat. So we'll just do this. And even though I did type the underscore, it just doesn't show it on the screen, but rest assured that it is taking in that underscore. So there we go. So the PS tree grepped updat, it shows it, but it doesn't show me the process tree. So let's actually just do this fully without grepping anything. And let's see what other information we are going to get here. Okay, so the PID is going to be this second or the first portion right here. And so what we need is the PID of critical updat first, which I actually have over here. So I believe it's 1648. So now I need the PPID, which is going to be the second series of numbers. So if I look for 1648, then I'll be able to find the actual name of the process itself that belongs to the critical update or critical updat parent. So what we're looking for is 1648, unless I am mistaken. So let's try that real quick. Yeah, so looking at it down here as well, it also shows us that 1648 is the critical updat PID. So what I need now to verify that is that I'm going to clear this and I'm going to run that previous command. But in this case, we're going to grep for 1648. Not 16848. Okay, that's going to be false. So let's do this again. And we're going to do 1648. So that should actually give us two results, right? So there we go. So we got 1648, and this is the PID of 1648, and this is PPID. And so updater.exe would be the process that is the child item of 1648. So analyzing this, what is the PID of the child process of critical update? So the PID is 1612 in this case. So 1612. And what is the timestamp for the process with the truncated name critical update? The timestamp for that process with the truncated name critical update. So timestamp for this would be this right here, if I'm mistaken, unless they want, I mean, they both have the same timestamp. So unless I'm wrong. So let's see. I'm just going to take this piece right here because there's also no formatting that they've given us. So let's see if that's right. It's not. Okay, I mean, it was the right answer, except they also wanted the zeros at the very end of it as well. So that is actually the timestamp that they're looking for. We just needed to make sure that we included all of the zeros at the very end of it. Okay, so very good. So that is it for searching for suspicious activity. So now let's move on to the very last piece that actually has some questions for us, which is finding interesting data. All right, now we have all the information to be able to investigate the critical update that we identified in the previous task, which is the updater exe as the child process. So we're going to investigate the child process, and we're going to see on the disk where it was actually saved. And you can do this by using the plugin Windows File Scan. And then we're going to see, I guess because of the fact that it's going to be a big output, we're going to output it inside of the thing to be able to save the actual results into the file scan output itself. So we're going to do Windows File Scan, yada yada, and then we're going to save it to the file scan output. And then after executing this command, we can inspect the data by using cat and then grepping through it, and we're going to try to find some information that we need. So we can observe that it's been saved in this particular directory or this one. If we want more detailed information, we can use the MFT scan, whose output is also big. So we got to redirect that into that file and then parse through that to try to find grep for the updater. Once we have that, there are several ways to examine it, but we're going to continue using volatility. We're going to dump the memory corresponding to this, examine it, memdump, Windows memmap, and dump both of those according to this PID. And then when the command is finished, we'll have a file with the extension of DMP as our dump. Examining the file is difficult since it contains non-printable characters, so we'll use strings command to analyze the output. Since we have the file strings available to us now, we can look for patterns like HTTP or key or any pattern that can lead us quickly to the artifact. Another way to scroll through the terminal is by using strings to pipe it to the less command to navigate through the output. So it would be strings for this PID inside of that dump file, less, which is going to show you not everything, just I believe it shows you the, not tail, I think less, what does it show? To navigate quick as the output shown below. I have to remember exactly what less does. I think it shows just pieces of the data instead of all of the lines, like all of the contents of the lines. As we can observe, we immediately identified a possible key and a domain from the URL that the process may have accessed. Also, by scrolling down, we found more indications that this is a malicious process since we can find important documents PDF indicating an interaction with the file. Now we can infer that their updater accessed the document and added a key at some point in the key critical update. If we use the command to grep through HTTP requests that can be stored in the memory, we can do it using the B and A to look for 10 lines and above and below our match to see if we can spot something else. So strings and then grep B and A, so bottom and above 10 lines, and then we're going to look for this piece to see what the results were between those 10 lines. And you can observe the HTTP request as such. From the above, we can observe at the end of the HTTP request that the encryption key, and on the same request, we can observe with the data Cafe Babe. This could be the key to encrypting the PDF used by the attacker that was not downloaded to the disk. So we collected valuable information, including possible key, etc. So analyzing the Windows file scan output, what is the full path and name for the critical update? Analyzing the MFT scan, what is the timestamp for the important document? And analyzing updated memory output, can you observe the HTTP request and determine the server that has been used by the attacker? So all of that information is good information. So we're going to clear this whole thing up, and we're going to start at the very top by first and foremost looking at the file of the Windows file scan of this and sending it to the file scan output, which is going to be as such. There you go. That's the full command. So volume or volatility f memdump mem dot 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 dot, press enter, and now it's going to save everything to our file scan dot out, and it's been finished. So let's give it a quick second so that it saves everything, and then we can grep through that output file for the updater exe. All right, cool. So there's the file scan output file, and the question is asking us to find the full path for critical updates. So that is what I'm going to grep for. So what I can do now is I can cat the file scan output, and then I'm gonna grep for the critical updat. Critical updat is what I'm searching for. And there it is. So that should be the full path of this thing. But it says critical update.exe. So I wonder if that's actually what we're looking for in this particular case, because it's asking for critical updat. So let's try this. We're going to try this path, see if that actually works. If it doesn't work, then what we're going to do is we're going to look for something else. Oh, that is it. Okay, fine. So, so that's the actual location that they're looking for, is users documents critical update.exe. Okay, so that is the location for that. Now it says analyzing the Windows MFT scan. What is the timestamp for the created date of important document PDF? So for that, we're going to use the Windows MFT scan plugin, and then we're going to send that to MFT scan output. So let's do that real quick. Okay, there we go. And that is that command. So we see it here, Windows MFT scan dot MFT scan, and then it's going to go to the output file. And it said it's a large output as well, so we're going to give that a quick second to finish. Okay, so there we go. We have the MFT scan output here as well. So what we're looking for now is the created time for the important document PDF. So it says from the output, we can observe the last 4 timestamps created, modified, updated, and accessed. And these are for the updater executable that they're looking for. But what we're looking for in this case is the important document, right? So we're gonna grep for important document.pdf is what we're gonna grep for. And here we go. So we have 4 timestamp here as well. So this would be the created, etc., etc., etc. So we need the first one. No, actually, I'm sorry. This is the first one. This will be the created timestamp. And so we're just gonna take this piece, and let's see if that would be the correct piece, which is indeed the correct piece. Excellent. So timestamp for the created Now analyzing the updater exe memory output, can you observe the HTTP request and determine the server used by the attacker? So the updater output, I want to say they already did it for us, but I think I need to do it myself as well. So there are several ways to examine memory, but we're going to continue. We're going to dump it into the updater, and then it's going to be the Windows mem map. It'll specify the output for the switch, and then in this case we're going to denote the character and the option dump followed by the option PID, which in this case is going to be this. So volume mem dump, and then the output into our current directory, and then it's going to be Windows mem map, and then dump everything that has to do with PID 1612, which we know is the PID associated with the updater executable. So that is the command that's going to get us the information that we need. So in this case, we're going to first run that, and then we're gonna kind of scroll through the comments, because I feel like it doesn't exist. So I'm gonna search through these screenshots to see if it exists, but I feel like they're not gonna give us the answer that easily. So let's see what we can find. Okay, yeah, it's definitely not gonna, they did not give it to us. They didn't make it easy for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first run this command right here so that I can get the memory dump for the PID 1612, which is the PID that is associated with our updater executable. All right, so there it is. So we have, volume or volatility. I keep saying volume. Volatility dump from this thing, and I want you to output it into the current directory, which is what that dot represents. And then we're going to do the Windows mem map, and then we're going to dump from the PID 1612, which is associated with the updater executable. And it's going to run, and apparently it's going to be a massive file. So let's get that finished first. Okay, cool. So that has been done. So now we have finished, and there should be a DMP file, which is right here, PID 1612 DMP. So let's see what we can do. So if I do strings PID 1612 DMP, and I'll just, oh my God. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff. That is a lot of stuff. So that's definitely not what we're looking for. So I think in this case, that grep command is very, very important because I need to look for that specific pattern or look through that data with the individual pattern. I'm just going to stop this from running because this is insanity. Look at how much data is in here. Holy crap. Okay, there you go. It took a while for it to stop running. Okay, so we'll run that again. And then in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to do a grep command. So I'll do less and then I'll do grep to see if I can actually find anything that has to do with HTTP. Okay, so there's a lot of HTTP stuff that has been grepped, but it doesn't show me anything that has to do with the actual URLs, because what I'm looking for is the HTTP request and determine the server that was used by the attacker. So what we need to do is we need to find something that would resemble some kind of a server for us. And in this particular case, it doesn't seem like this is any data that would be useful in that regard. So I need to find something that would be useful for that regard. So I'm going to search through some of these things again and see if there's anything else that I can potentially find. Okay, that's what the less command does. And the first time I did not, for some reason, it didn't register less. I think I may have pressed enter too soon. So it shows you kind of like one page at a time. That's what it shows for us. So now it's a little bit more manageable for us to be able to kind of sift and sort through this data to see if there's anything that we can find. So there is the key critical update encryption key specific HTTP not request, but this is the URL that I guess was requested. So that is useful. So let's see what we can actually find as far as the request itself is concerned. That's the piece that is interesting to me. So let me see how we can sift through this. Okay, so it's actually not the less command that's going to give us the information that we need. The less command was used to get us to this point where we can actually find the specific domain name that was used for the encryption key. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this command where we're going to grep for the potential requests. For example, in this particular case, the request was made here. So this will be the actual HTTP request as displayed. So potentially that could be the case. That could be the thing that we're looking for, because it's asking for the HTTP request that determined the server and determine the server that was used by the attacker. So this is technically, I mean, it does display this here. So criticalupdate.com, DK, HTTP, da 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 da. So that could be it. That could be the request itself. So I'll try that. If not, we'll just use this grep command that's over here so that we can try to pull that information from it. So let's try that. Okay, so it actually would be used exactly doing this, or it would be achieved using this exact command right here. And then we would need to search through the data that comes out here. And so when you search through it, there's, you know, these various domain names and everything that is revealed to us, all of it showing that specific domain name. But what we're looking for is a server request or an HTTP request from a server that would reveal it. And so this is the top of the results right here. And I can sift and sort through this just to show you each individual result, but it's literally at the bottom right here. So if we go all the way down, you see right here. So it says they want the type of the server that they're looking for. And in this particular case, it would be the server simple HTTP such and such. So this is the simple HTTP server that was used to serve that data to us. Boom, there it is. So that was it. So this one was, for me, it was a little bit confusing because I kind of, I guess, skimmed over the instructions instead of reading everything to you. But because this is a free room, I was like, okay, well, if you want to go read word for word, you can definitely go read word for word. But all of this up until this point, all of these commands up until this point, we followed them exactly. and we ran this one to get a Windows file scan, and then we got a file scan output. We ran this one to get the MFT scan output. And then from there, what you need to do is get a memory dump, Windows memory dump for the updater executable, which was based on this PID, because everything is not, it's not character based, or I forget how they, non-printable characters. So it has nothing to do with the printable character. So you would need to go through the 1612 PID so you can get all of the information for that specific process. And then it would give you this file, which is a dump file. And then once you have the dump file, they've also given you this piece right here that, you know, you just show, you run less so that you can go through it line by line instead of getting this massive output onto the screen. And then when you pay attention, you can see that there's a domain that has the encryption key.txt at the end of it. And for this part, for their example, they were looking for the important document PDF, and they were able to run that and find that. So the official command that they ran to be able to find that was this piece right here that shows you the 10 lines above and 10 lines below of the HTTP key domain right here. And it shows you everything that has to do with that specific domain name, 10 lines before it and 10 lines after it. And then from there, they were able to extract this specific domain name, and they even saw Cafe Babe that was on there. So all of that information is also here for us to view. But the piece that we're most interested in is the server that they were looking for. So in this case, I could have technically just done this, and I wonder if I can even grep for server. I'm going to try this, see if I can grep for the word server and see if that'll show me anything. Because it should give me two outputs technically, and there you go, it actually does. So you could have first ran this piece to search for all of that data that has to do 10 lines before and 10 lines after it, and then you take that output and you also grep the word server from that, and it will give you the quick response real quick for the server type, which is this line right here, and then that way you would get your answer. So there's multiple ways that you can extract that information, but for the most part I ran all of the instructions that they gave line by line, command for command, and with the last piece right here where we had to just search for what we needed to be able to find the information itself. So that is it for that. All right, so we ran this exercise. It was actually a good one. I really liked this one. Even though it's SOC Level 1, I learned a lot about this exercise, so I hope you did too. We learned how to gather information from the machine dump, how to search for connections, enumerate, investigate processes, mainly using the volatility tool, and look for malicious patterns. And then all of that can actually be used in real life scenarios, but there's all of these extra rooms here as well. So Linux forensics, iOS forensics that I did not see previously. So let me close this window. This is the Windows Forensics 2, which I've done a video for this already. So we've done the Linux Forensics, we've done iOS Forensics. I have not done. This is actually exciting. I really want to do that room. And Windows Application Forensics, I have not done. So I have several videos or several rooms that I definitely need to complete and create videos for. So this should be an exciting couple of days for me. And hopefully you'll also get a lot of value out of it, because you're going to be going along with that process. So that's it for this one. We have officially wrapped this room, and yeah, we're done with this. All right, so if you got any value from this video, I would recommend you check out the rest of the videos that we got on the channel. There's a lot of good stuff here, and there's a lot of good stuff that is queued to be distributed and published for the next few weeks. And I always record and I always publish new stuff, so there's a lot of good stuff here. So check out what we already got. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so that you get notified when future videos come out. And if you actually have questions or comments, drop them in the comment section here, and I will get to your questions in the comment section. If it's a quick one, if it's a really good question, I'll create a video in response to your question, so that not only will you get your answer, but probably other people who have the same question will also get the answer. And it's just something that I love seeing. I love seeing people come in the comment section and actually, give shout outs or ask questions. Even if you have criticisms or constructive criticisms, it would be really, really nice to see that. So All in all, it was very, very cool to be able to have this community, and I hope you take advantage of it. Drop a comment, ask a question. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so that you get notified the next time that a video comes out. And that's it. And as always, I gotta give a shout out to the Hackaholics Anonymous community, the premier YouTube community for cybersecurity and ethical hacking, pen testing, all that good stuff. This is my baby. I really love this community. I love the people that come to this community and actually join the community. Even if you just want to come in as a supporter, which is our base level, or if you want to come in as one of the more advanced community members and get the Python automations, the live streams, the Discord chats, the bug bounties, exclusive content, discount on merch, all that good stuff. So I would love to see you in the Hackaholics Anonymous community. I think you'll get a lot of value from it. And if you want to see what's actually available, you can just watch the 14-minute video or click on this little read more button that's down here, and then it'll show you in the description all of the outlines of what the perks are and what's available on that community. So if you haven't checked it out already, make sure you check out the Hackaholics Anonymous community. It's your boy Hank Hackerson at Hank Hacks Hackers, your favorite network and system attacker / protector. If no one else loves you, Hank loves you. Love, peace, and chicken grease. See you in the next video. Later.